So we opted this year, instead of using Fragile Families for the mass collaboration exercise, to use one of the funded projects that we worked on. So, and also I'm excited to report that it's also the project of one of our Howard faculty sponsors, which is Nikki Jenkins. So she's going to introduce some background information on the Crown Acts. You would have seen her project presentation yesterday, but this should tell you a little bit about why it's important. So let's watch that video together.
Thank you all so much for your participation in this exercise for your Mass Collaboration Day at SICSS. I'm Dr. Nicole Jenkins. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm an assistant professor at Howard University in Washington, D.C., USA. I am also a SICSS-Howard Mathematica alum from the 2021 cohort last summer. And I'm returning as one of the 3 faculty sponsors, along with my colleagues, Dr. Terry Adams and Dr. Amy Yaboa Korkame. So what is the Crown Act? The Crown Act is an acronym for creating a respectful and open world for natural hair. The Crown Act is current legislation in the United States that seeks to end hair discrimination within institutions of work, school, as well as federal government programs. While protection against discrimination is prevalent within U.S. law, a recent federal law passed in 2019 allows employers the option to ban locks within the workplace. The Crown Act is not law throughout the United States, and this makes it difficult for folks of color donning those hairstyles. It is the passing of this law that initiated the efforts of the Crown Act. Since its fruition, the Crown Act is now law across over 15 states, but much of the U.S. remains without protection. This year, the U.S. House of Representatives passed the Crown Act, and it is now pending Senate approval before it can become law across the nation. This is why this conversation holds such significance and is so timely. This slide is a visual of the states where the Crown Act is currently law. We can see that there's still a lot of work to be done. With so much territory still to cover, it's important for us to understand what discrimination against natural hair looks like in the US. So my personal experiences with this as a child and through adulthood with problems with natural hair discrimination prompted me to begin this research within my dissertation and begin championing the Crown Act. 100% of Black girls in elementary schools reported experiences of natural hair discrimination. This is research that is noted on the official Crown Act website. 47% of Black mothers also reported having experiences of natural hair discrimination and noted that their children had these experiences as early as 5 years old. These experiences cause trauma and impact the daily lives of those affected. While research is still catching up to these instances, popular presses like USA Today and Teen Vogue have also covered a number of specific cases. In August of 2018, Clinton Stanley Jr., a 6-year-old student at Brooks Christian Academy in Florida, was sent home from school on account of his hair. The child's father was told that the school handbook states that boys are not permitted to have dreadlocks or locks. In September 2018, officials at Christ the King Middle School in Terrytown, Louisiana, informed one of its students that she was being expelled from school because of her braids. They were unacceptable under the school's code. In December of 2018, Andrew Johnson, a Black New Jersey teenager, was made to cut his dreadlocks by a white referee to continue participating in his school's wrestling match. And more recently, in January of 2020, a second student at Barber Hill High School, a 16-year-old by the name of Caden Bradford, was suspended for the length of his dreadlocks. Caden Bradford is the cousin to a previous student who additionally was reprimanded for natural hair. So as you can see, these instances indicate and highlight the importance and significance of the Crown Act. I am so excited that you are participating in this exercise based on my dissertation research topic. I hope you enjoy your Mass Collaboration Day for SICSS.
Okay.
Thank you all for watching. For more information on SICSS-Howard Mathematica, visit our website, follow us on social media, and join our email list.
I forgot about that part of my presentation. There we go. Okay, so let me turn my camera back on. Let's see, okay. And Merlin, if you could spotlight me, please, that'd be great. Thank you. All right, so we're going to be doing a mass collaboration exercise related to Nicole, Dr. Jenkins, our SICSS-Howard Mathematica 2021 sister and alumna based on her work. You'll find out a little bit more the details of what we're going to be doing later in the week, but we don't want to take for granted that everyone understands or has experienced or has knows someone who's experienced this. So we want to introduce you to some stories about a couple of Black people's experience with having natural hair and hair discrimination. So Nicole will be the first. So she'll be sharing her story, and then she also asked me to share mine. So Merlin, if you could go ahead and screen share, we're going to hear Nicole talk about her experience having natural hair.
Share a story about a time when you felt the most confident about wearing your natural hair. What were you doing? Where were you at? And how were you feeling?
This is a great memory to share. So a time when I was feeling the most confident about wearing my natural hair was actually, I had just moved to the area, to the DMV area. This is recently. And I had located a natural hair salon. And the owner of the salon was looking for participants to come to her salon, receive a free style, and do a photo shoot. She was promoting natural hair on her website and her salon and these sorts of things. So I'm like, oh, cool. I wanted to go to the salon anyways. But when I arrived, there were at least 7 other women, all with different types of natural hair. And I immediately just felt so good about being in there and being able to share, you know, my stories. There was all different skin colors, all different hair textures, all different lengths, different styles. It was so amazing. So I was feeling very confident. I was feeling so in love with my natural hair and all of their natural hair. It was an amazing experience, and I was so glad for the opportunity to share it with other women who were also just so in love with their natural hair textures. So that was for sure a highlight for me of feeling confident, the most confident about my natural hair.
Share a story about a time when you felt the least confident about wearing your natural hair. What were you doing? Where were you at? And how were you feeling?
I have so many of these. And I think that most of the experiences that I had where I felt the least confident were in my childhood, mostly because I didn't really know how to do my hair. Now there are so many products, you know, and when I was growing up, there weren't all of these products tailored towards natural hair. I'm also biracial, and my mother did not have the same hair texture as me, so I think she was kind of on a learning journey. So there were many times where I would try to do my own hair. I remember specifically, I was in first grade, and we were standing in a line to go to the library. And I was doing this thing where I was pulling like 2 pieces in front of my face and kind of doing this finger thing, and then just had a little puff in the back. And I think I felt good about it in the morning when I had left. But there was a student behind me who was like, your hair looks like a horse in the front and a rabbit in the back, or something along those lines. And I was a super shy kid. I didn't really talk that much, but I was like, what? And then she said it again, but said it louder. And now, you know, other students could hear. And I think in that moment, I was just feeling very small. You know, I felt very different. I did grow up in a town that was predominantly white. So it was likely that I was one of maybe 2 students of color in my class. So it wasn't a good feeling. And I think I also felt inadequate, where I was like, well, maybe I don't know how to do my own hair. Just very insecure and very embarrassed by her comments.
What factors help you determine how and when to wear natural hairstyles? Can you share a story that serves as an example?
So nowadays, I am always wearing a natural hairstyle. There's not really much that's going to change that in terms of the breadth of possibilities, right? In terms of wearing natural hair. I switch my hair up very often. But I can share a story about a time where I chose to straighten my hair rather than wear it curly. And it was kind of a monumental moment. So when I was receiving my master's degree, I went to go try on my cap and gown, and the cap, hopefully folks can relate here, the cap is just not made for natural hair. And when I went to try it on, I had my big curly hair out, and I was trying to figure out a way that I would be able to keep the cap on without smushing my hair. It's also, I was graduating from UNLV, which is in Las Vegas. So spring in Las Vegas is essentially summer. It's like 100 and something degrees. So I'm thinking, like, how can I wear this on my head and it not come off? So at that moment, I was like, well, I could just straighten it and then I can just clip it. And I wouldn't have to worry about smashing my big hair. And it was tough because I was thinking, wow, you know, my master's thesis has to do, you know, I'm researching about natural hair. And then at my master's graduation, I'm going to straighten my hair. But this was a decision that I made based on, you know, the cap I was given. I've actually seen so many folks pull it off just flawlessly, just do it where I'm like, I wish I could have done it like that. But I didn't. I ended up straightening my hair, and in that moment, I know that I felt regret. I wanted to have the curly hair, you know, with my graduation picture. It was like something that I had kind of just assumed that would be a possibility, that actually ended up being a challenge for me. So I did decide to straighten my hair for my master's photos, and then also graduation as well. Even extending on to my doctoral graduation was virtual. I'm a COVID grad, so shout out to the COVID grads. But I also straightened my hair wearing that because for the same reasons. I just couldn't figure out. My hair is very large when I wear it out and natural, and it just wouldn't be able to achieve the same look. So tough decision, but one I made.
Are there other hair stories that stand out for you, either positive or negative, that you want to share?
Yes, I want to share an example of a microaggression, because I think that sometimes when we experience microaggressions, we sometimes question ourselves, like, did that really happen? Did that person really just say that? And maybe even wonder if we have the right to be offended, or are we overreacting? So in this situation, I was in grad school, I had my hair straightened because I had taken my cap and gown photos and needed the hat to fit. So I had talked about that previously, but I was walking through the halls and a colleague of mine, another graduate student, a few cohorts above mine, stopped me in the hallway and said, "Something is different about you," you know, in a joking way. And I kind of laughed it off. I was on my way to do something, and I kind of went, and he said, "No, stop. I'm trying to figure it out. I can't quite put my finger on it. Your hair, your hair is different." And I said, "Yeah, it is." And he said, "Wow, you look so much more professional like that." And immediately I felt anger because my hair is professional however I choose to wear it, right? My natural hair is professional. My braids are professional. If I have cornrows, if I have my fro, whatever it is, that is professional hair. So in that moment, I was frustrated, I was annoyed, I was all of the things that I think we try to avoid. But I think I had every right to be, and I think when we're in situations like that, we can recognize that what we're experiencing is a microaggression. In terms of my response, I think I said, "I wonder why you think that." And they kind of paused, and I think realized, oh, this is the student that researches natural hair, and I just made a comment about her hair, you know, just I could see the immediate feeling of embarrassment on their face. And then I just proceeded on to what I was doing. But yeah, that's an experience that kind of sticks with me, and one to remember.
Thank you all for watching. For more information on SICSS-Howard Mathematica, thank you all. Hopefully that for those who were not blessed with beautiful African or African American natural hair, that will start to give you a sense of the experiences that Black women, Black men, Black children have in all sorts of different settings. So that was Nicole's story, and I'm very proud to also add my story to her research. So we're going to show you a video of my story now. So go ahead and set this up for us, Merlin.
Share a story about a time when you felt the most confident about wearing your natural hair. What were you doing? Where were you at? And how were you feeling?
Oh, my natural hair journey started back when I was in high school. So I was a soccer player, and I had gone from having a carefree curl as a very young person to spending what felt like years of my life at the salon straightening my hair. And it was sports were just unforgiving on those hairstyles. I couldn't maintain them, and they just didn't really feel like me. I think I felt the most like myself when I had a short natural cut as a young person and a wedge haircut. But when I was in high school, I was the first person at my predominantly white Catholic Long Island high school to don braids. So this was when what was it? Poetic Justice was popular and in the theaters, and Janet Jackson was one of the first women that I sort of admired and looked up to. You know, a person who I felt sort of was connected to our generation. If I had those kinds of thoughts at the time, I don't think I was actually like, oh, she's the voice of our generation. But seeing her with those long box braids just opened up a world where I didn't have to try to align all this beautiful full texture and complexity into something straight and European. So I saw her box braids, and I wanted those. So I told my mother, and we tracked down a place that would do it. And you know, I bought all these packets of synthetic hair, and and thought I was going for 3 hours, but all this thick hair took about 14 to 20. So I think it was a 2-day experience. But on the other side of it, and they, where I thought I would start with hair to here ended up, people joke, you get in either the weave chair or the braid chair, and all of a sudden you got hair all the way down your back. I had them all the way to the middle of my back, and you couldn't tell me anything. I was walking around. I felt so confident, so happy. And I got to my school, and like I said, Catholic school, we had a booklet that told us all the different things we weren't and were not allowed to do. And at the time, there was nothing about box braids that was in this handbook. So I'm sure there was a new rule created because of me and my very proud, confident, and outspoken parents, that this was something that celebrated my beauty and my Afrocentricity. And so, rules be damned. I was going to be able to wear this, and I very confidently wore this style in my graduation photo. So there are pictures of me up in my school, in our on the wall in my high school that have been there now for 20 something years, with me with this just beautiful box braid style. And a lot of other women at my school started following suit. And it was something I was very, very, very proud of. I for probably one of the first times in my life felt very proud to look very different than everyone else around me. And it's only gotten better since.
Share a story about a time when you felt the least confident about wearing your natural hair. What were you doing? Where were you at? And how were you feeling?
So after I finished my master's degree in economics, I applied for and was accepted into the Presidential Management Fellows Program, was nominated by the University of Buffalo. And I headed to Washington with these dreams of doing something. And the program gave me a lot of phenomenal opportunities. So I started out at the Department of Commerce, and then after doing a rotation at the White House Office of the U.S. Trade Representative, I was offered a position and stolen from Department of Commerce and joined the staff there. Our offices were broken down by region and then also different negotiation areas. So I was in 2 offices that served communities in Asia, so Korea, Japan, APEC, and also Southeast Asia and the Pacific. So a lot of my work was on the Pacific Islands, and I would run into people at embassies from Melanesian parts of the world. So a lot of people look like me, had hair textures like me, and I felt so incredible being in spaces and sharing those spaces with other people, other Black and brown people. I was an Asia expert. And very often when people would arrive at our building, they would look at me with dreadlocks all the way down my back, usually wavy or curly. I'd been growing them for about 7 years at that point, and would automatically assume things about which office I worked in, what my expertise was, and whether I was in a professional negotiating position at the office. I spent more time expressing what I was not, instead of being able to be confident and excited about the work that I was doing. And I'd say that one of the more difficult times I encountered, where I felt embarrassed or uncomfortable, or like I stood out in a negative way, was when I was walking around DC with my boss. I was a young professional and trying to show her, to show them, to show everyone that I not only belonged but had the capacity for great things. And we're walking down the street, and I'm in my business suit and my little kitten heels, and I'm looking like a DC professional, and a white man went by on a bicycle and stopped and started screaming things in what he thought was, a Jamaican accent. and started to inquire about whether I was able to find him drugs. Because when he looked at me, that was all he saw. He didn't see my business suit. He didn't see my professionalism. He made snap judgments about me. So that's a story and a time and a time period in my life where I think it was harder to stand out for my beautiful, luxurious, amazing locks.
What factors help you determine how and when to wear your natural hair? Can you share a story that serves as an example?
So I cut my locks off in, gosh, it must have been around 2008. So I locked my hair for the first time in college, a few years after losing my mother to cancer. She was only 53. And I felt that there was something I needed to do for me. I'd already been thinking about it, but I needed to do for me to mark that moment. You know, in some cultures, people wear black for a period of time, or sit shiva. There are all sorts of different traditions around the world. But for me, it felt like, because my hair and hair discussions were such an important part of my relationship with my mother, it felt like something I should do to mark that place. So I locked my hair and actually allowed it to grow, and until I joined the Office of the U.S. Trade Representative. Not long after that experience I just described on the street, where I was pinpointed as someone whose life choices were not their own, you know, not long after that, I started to think about my hair and what it represented for others in addition to what it represented for me. And a few days before a very important talk that I gave at the State Department, I was on the docket to speak to the Pacific Island Conference of Leaders. There were prime ministers and presidents from Pacific Island countries in the audience. Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice was the opening speaker, and I closed the event. And I had been thinking about cutting my hair for a while, because 7 years had gone by since I lost my mom, and 7 is an important number in a lot of faith communities. And I knew that the length of my hair represented how long I had been grieving. And not to say that grief ever leaves you. You know, there's a gaping wound in my heart for the loss of my mother and also my father, who I lost just 3 years after my mom. But my hair was feeling heavy, and the weight of that grief being with me all the time, and having it caught up in my hair, it felt like it was time. And with this giant event coming up, I decided that it might be fun to switch it up. So I had a girlfriend go to the salon with me. Well, not the salon, the barber. And she did the first cuts in the front. And my locks that were all the way down to my lower back were donated and made into a wig. And I arrived in the office with a little less than an inch of hair. And yeah, it was time for me. It was definitely a me decision. But I've never thought of myself as anything but professional with short hair since. So that was 2008, and I've had some version of this haircut, short, long, sometimes a little color, sometimes not, ever since. And one of the things that I love about having short hair is that it does what it does, and it just is. It's one of the most important parts of the way that I look at myself.
Are there other hair stories that stand out for you, either positive or negative, that you want to share?
Yeah, so another story comes to mind. Right before my wedding, I had super short hair when I met my partner. Probably, I mean, like super short hair. So this is really long since we met. And I had employed a stylist to do the hair of all my bridesmaids and such. And after we talked through it, she's like, okay, so how much weave do you want me to add? I'm like, what? Or, are we going to straighten your hair? There were so many people who wanted to straighten my hair. And I was like, no. This is, I am beautiful. I am striking. I am bride material with my short natural hair. I mean, I've got a barber lined up. I'm going to go see if he's going to, clean it up a little bit. But no, so all of my wedding photos, and I'm hoping that we've incorporated some of them into this video, are me with my amazing short natural hair. The hair I was born with. Yeah, I love that so much. That I was just 100% me on that day. And when I get this doctorate, whenever that happens, I don't know how I'm going to fit my cap on this, but yeah, but I'm going to show it off. I'm very, very proud of my natural hair. Thank you all for watching. For more hello and welcome back. Thank you for going on Hair Journey with me and Nicole. We wanted to give you a chance to start to think about your hair journey, no matter who you are in this room, and to think about the hair journeys of Black folks, and because that's the space we're going to be in on Friday. We are very proud to be creating an activity that actually will also be done in Cameroon and in Nigeria and also in South Africa. So we're uniting surrounding some of these different activities this week. So you'll be part of a larger global community when we do our mass collaboration on Friday. Thank you all for watching. For more information on SICSS-Howard Mathematica, visit our website, follow us on social media, and join our email list.